The word, the word comes from the Latin. You studied Latin, right?
I did. Can you believe we both had Latin in
I
high
know,
school?
I had Latin in high school. The word comes from the Latin fidelitas. It's a good word. Fidelitas, fidelity, fidelity. And in the secular world in which we're living today, becoming more and more secularized, saeculum of the man, Protagoras said, man is the measure in 323 BC, and established a low bar for morality and ethics, man being the measure because there is no God. Fidelity, fidelitas. I am challenging, imploring, begging, doing whatever I have to all Christians out there. As you know, our efforts are dedicated to mobilizing 1,000,001 evangelical Christians to vote on November 3rd. You cannot, wherever you're listening, we're local on the radio in South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, covering millions of people, worldwide on iHeartRadio, worldwide on the internet. And you can watch us, www.theunitedwest.org, theunitedwest.org. So wherever you're listening or watching worldwide, if you were in our media market in South Florida, every commercial, not every other commercial, every commercial is a Biden commercial, 10-1. Biden commercials to Trump commercials. Throughout this state, that's the money that's being poured in. They fear this man. They fear the followers of this person who's going to vote for him. They fear the principles upon which the doctrines that this president and those of us stand, the Judeo-Christian principles as articulated in the founding documents, the Constitution. So I beg every Christian this evening, when the debate is going on, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, to watch the debates in the context of the Latin term fidelitas, fidelity. And you will see a categorical distinction between the two debaters. On the one hand, President Donald Trump, and on the other hand, former Vice President Joe Biden.
He's hiding.
Joe Biden. Fidelity. And you're going to see that President Trump is going to hold to a position of fidelity, of loyalty, of trust, of faithfulness to the articles enunciated in the United States Constitution. Dramatically different. The foremost principle articulated in the United States Constitution is the protection and preservation of human life. Without life, there is no liberty, there is no happiness. If you take life away immorally, improperly, you violate the fidelity that the framers had built into the United States Constitution. You will see two positions being argued, and I'm speaking primarily to Bible-believing Christians, because that's the only group that's going to make a difference in this state, because there's so many of you that are not voting. There's fidelity to the concept of the preservation of life on the Republican side of the agenda, starting with pre-born life, life that exists before it's born. I had spent many years arguing as a pro-life activist, and in all the debates, hundreds of debates, if not thousands, I would ask a simple question of my pro-abortion opponent. I'd say, whatever you're doing, whatever the process of abortion is, does it take the life away from something inside the mother? Is whatever that is it growing? And after all the mumbo jumbo, when you hold them down to the science of the fact, does your procedure, whether it's a D&C, D&E, whatever it may be, does it take whatever's in there living? And sooner or later, if you hold their feet to the scientific fire, they have to admit Yeah, that's the purpose of abortion, to take that which is living away so it's no longer living and invading that individual. Their words. Okay, and the next question is, of what genus is that? Of what group? That thing you just took away, that life you just took away, does it belong to amphibians? Does it belong to the aviary world? Does it belong, is it a dinosaur? I mean, what do we classify it as? And when you hold their feet to the scientific fire, they say it's a human life. What did you just say scientifically? Is a human life that you're taking away. You will see tonight the fidelity of President Trump to the protection of preborn human life. But it doesn't end there. Once that life is born, if it's born outside the womb, there's fidelity to the protection of someone born in a botched abortion. But it doesn't just stop there. There's fidelity on this president's part, on the Republican part, on my part, on Susie Gold's part, on good people's part, to damaged life, whether it's a Down syndrome baby of Amy Coney Bryant, or whether it's someone born with Tay-Sachs or someone born with a missing limb. There's a fidelity to the protection of human life. And it doesn't end there. It goes even further to the end of life. There's a recognition of the value of all human beings, even if their productivity has ceased to exist. And you'll see the fidelity to two different ethical and moral worldviews. You'll see fidelity to the fact that a human being, even if they're damaged mentally, there's fidelity to that on the president's part. And it doesn't end there. You're also going to see tonight a distinction between the two candidates in the protection of human beings when a culture turns against its law enforcement structure. And we see that happening right now across cities. And we see attacks against law enforcement officers. And we see two different worldviews being applied, one of law and order for the protection of human life, and one for the denigration of a class of people, in this case, law enforcement officers. And it doesn't stop there. If you form a civilized country where you have the concept of it as its moral base, the protection of human beings, and you have 330 million of them, you have to then look beyond your own borders. And you have to say there's countries out there that don't like us. So now we have to have some sort of infrastructure and capability to protect American citizens abroad and internally. And if we look around a very dangerous world, we see a number one national security partner with similar beliefs in the nation of Israel. You will see this evening fidelity on the president's part to the nation of Israel. And these issues, fidelity to preborn life, to existing life, and then to a national security perspective, do not exist in the other party this evening. So I'm challenging all Christians, Bible-believing Christians, and conservative, politically conservative Jewish people. Look tonight and use as a framework the concept of fidelity, faithfulness, loyalness to an essential platform doctrine of the United States Constitution, the preservation of all human beings from the beginning of natural life to the end of natural life and all in between. Good morning, Susie Gall. We missed you yesterday.
Oh, I missed you guys.
Speaking
Great
of
to be
fidelity,
back.
Tom, speaking of fidelity, we have David Horowitz on.
What'd you say, Mark? I lost my earpiece.
I said, speaking of fidelity, we have David Horowitz on.
Yeah, I know. I see him there. David, our good friend David.
Good morning, David.
We are not taping this like we were. You are live on our TV show, broadcast all over the internet, and live on commercial radio going all over the world. Good to have you with us, David Horowitz. How you doing?
He's muted. He's muted.
You're muted. You're muted. You gotta unmute your
Thing, yeah.
I missed that.
There you go. Okay,
There we-
all
now
right.
we hear you.
We
I'm doing well.
we love looking at you, but we'd rather also hear you. Okay, David. I did a little open with this concept of fidelity to the protection of human life from the beginning of the process to the end, and we're all familiar with once a group categorizes
It
another
begins-
group as unfit to live. All kinds of problems could occur.
it
What are
begins
your thoughts on that concept? And I want to talk to you today. We want to talk to you about the debate tonight. It's exciting.
It begins with fidelity to the truth. So you have to recognize that there's life at the beginning, don't you? When they're in absolute denial, they think that killing an unborn child is like pulling a tooth. So you have to get over that barrier, which is huge. I was going to say, when you watch Joe Biden tonight, I mean, I've said before that he lies every time he moves his lips, but he actually lies twice. For example, he's accused, well, actually in this case, 3 times. He accused Trump of killing 200 million COVID patients, even though the figures are, that's way off. But it was Trump. The reality is that Trump instituted this ban on China almost immediately. He declared a national health emergency in January. And while Biden, so the lie is that Trump did nothing, and that's what caused all these deaths. But the third lie is lying about himself, Biden, because he called Trump a racist for imposing that ban and opposed the ban. So when you listen to Biden, try to always detect the double lie. One is about his own positions. He's talking about America first now and, bring manufacturing jobs back to America. He had 8 years in the White House in which he did the opposite. So when he attacks Trump that way, there's 2 lies. One is to deny Trump's incredible achievement of bringing all those manufacturing jobs back. And the other is a lie about himself and that he's the one who sent the jobs to China.
Yeah, well, Susie, there may be some lying tonight going on, and
There's going to be a lot.
there's going to be a lot of lying.
There's no
David,
record. He's been 47 years, as a congressman, a senator, and a vice president. And he's got to lie about all of that.
well, David, hang on. I gotta let you look at a little piece of video here. You're mistaken on the 47 years. It actually was a little longer. Mark's going to
just a
cue
little
up a
longer.
piece of video. I want you to comment, both of you guys. I don't know if you met Susie Gold. Have you met David?
Good morning.
on
You
the
know
show?
what? We have not met, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I did watch videos where Tom interviewed you and some other videos that you have. Of course, you're out on the internet, and I did go on the freedomcenter.org website, which I ask all of our listeners to go on that site. And we'll also put a plug in for your book, Blitz, which is absolutely a fantastic book, educational, intelligent, and the subtitle is Trump Will Smash the Left and Win, which we want to talk about on this show.
He's the author of both, best-selling author of both
and
books.
also Dark Agenda.
I've read both. They're great. As you know, David, I am one of those evangelical Christians. Susie Gold wasn't here yesterday, Yom Kippur. She's an observant Jewish woman. We know each other 10 years. She was with us 10 years ago on the radio and very prominent in her community. So we have a nice balance of a Jew and a Christian here. We got the United Nations going on.
Great to have intelligent conversation.
Not exactly the United Nations, which is anti-Christian and
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Mark, you have your
That is
piece?
true.
Hey, David, listen to this. You made a little mistake. You said Biden was there for 47 years. Joe Biden is going to correct you and tell you exactly how long, at 9:17 in the morning,
Yes.
exactly how long he was in the senator.
180 years.
Well, it's 180, but anyway.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, okay.
School shootings to public health issues, helping save lives as well as livelihoods. That's why I've made it a priority my entire career to work closely with you. From the time I got to the Senate 180 years ago,
180 years
as well
ago.
as my tenure as vice president.
Can't even read a teleprompter.
Oh, I can't wait for tonight's debate.
When you
Hold on.
first saw that,
That-
David,
William
when he
Henry
said, I
Harrison.
was in the Senate at 180.
William Henry Harrison was president, and he
There's a
died.
meme going on. They have a picture of the senators from 180 years ago, 4 of them in those ovals, and Joe Biden right in the middle from 180 years ago. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, I mean, it's, he's done this so many times now. To me, it's very distressing that so many people are willing to vote for this guy. I mean, he's not even there.
Yeah.
It's really terrible. And it shows that there's such a disjunction between reality and the way Democrats think these days. It's very scary, I think.
Well, you have made a career out of thinking clearly and really had an epiphany after your unclear Marxist thinking. You came out of that and you've wowed us all and encouraged us and educated us all with your many books. How many books now have you written?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I know I wrote
180. 180 of them.
180,000.
3 this year.
He just keeps writing and writing and writing, laying down.
Okay,
the
so I
legacy.
have a
Yeah.
question for you, David.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about the Democrat Party, right? As you stated, what we're up against with the Democrat Party. What is it really? Is this really a Democrat Party? Here we are faced with the Green
No,
New
it's a
Deal,
com-
Black Lives Matter.
It's a
Who are
com-
we really?
it's a communist party. The Democrat Party is a communist party. The Green New Deal is a chapter of my book Blitz called Green Communism. My problem with conservatives and Republicans is they're too polite. You can see how dangerous these people are. On day one, my favorite is Elizabeth Warren. On day one, when I'm president, I'm going to destroy the banking industry, put whatever it is, 200,000 people out of work, slice, $69 million off the gross national product and so forth. By diktat. I mean, if that isn't communism, I don't know what is. And we're going to eliminate gasoline-driven cars. I looked that up on the internet. There's 276 million gasoline-driven cars in the United States. And, it's a big ticket item for anybody in the middle class. And also Americans are very attached to their cars because it's freedom. You just get in your car and go. They want to do that in 10 years, eliminate 276 million cars. How can they do that without instituting a police state? They can't.
They can't.
Which
They
is
can't.
part of the agenda.
But if you read the Green New Deal, it just Ocasio-Cortez, introduction of the Green New Deal, it starts off, and you ask them how they're going to finance it and how they're going to implement it. They say, well, we did it during World War II. We had a World War II mobilization. The fight to save the planet is a bigger fight than the fight against the Nazis. Cory Booker said that. So, okay, so we're going to have martial law. And if you don't like it, we'll do to you what we did to the 120,000 Japanese we put in internment camps that Roosevelt actually put in internment camps. So they're very dangerous people, the Democrats. And their chief ideology is racism. It's really terrible what they've done.
What do you mean by racism? Because
Well,
they're
Chloe,
accusing all of us of being racists.
Right. Well, that's their racism. They accuse us of being racist because we're white.
Unbelievable. Hey, it's 9:22 in the morning on the 29th of September. A couple more days left in this month, 30 days, I think. 9:22 in the morning, East Coast time. We have David Horowitz, our good friend, Horowitz Freedom Center. Also, ladies and gentlemen listening on WNN 1470, 95.3, you got to go to, David has at the Horowitz Freedom Center, he has a whole variety of websites. One of our favorites is frontpagemag.com. And one of the greatest writers in the world is Daniel Greenfield, who is a friend of ours. He's been on the show. writes brilliantly. So tremendous resources at the Horowitz Freedom Center. You know David for a long time, know of David.
Sure, a very long time. Mhm.
And you had some questions for him? Because I got a bunch of them.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this first question is, here, we have all these intelligent graduates of Ivy League schools and some of the finest universities across the country. How are they coming out and not seeing what we're seeing? And how are they coming out thinking socialism, communism? Oh, it's great. Let's allow all these illegal immigrants. Let's bring them all in. Let's give free health care. How did that happen?
I've been indoctrinated since kindergarten in left-wing claptrap is the problem. They have no idea how this country was formed. They have no idea where their freedoms came from. They have no understanding of human nature. I mean, that's a big thing that the left doesn't get. They think that people are like blank slates, and they can write any program on them they want. Socialism is a war against human nature. When I was a leftist, I mean, I read whole libraries of socialist books. There wasn't a chapter in any of them on how to create wealth. It's all about dividing it up. In other words, stealing it. So that's what Margaret Thatcher said. It works until you run out of other people's money. They're ignoramuses. I mean, yeah, sure, they have intelligence. They probably can, manipulate TikTok really well.
But David, you were in your past, you were a
Leftist, Marxist,
leftist.
yeah.
So what is it that woke you up and helped you
Well,
to see the light?
before that, what was the intellectual draw before you saw the area way?
Look, it's a religious heresy. It's called the Pelagian heresy. Pelagius was a monk in the 4th century AD, and he believed that sin was against human nature. And he thought that therefore, if he was a Catholic, if Catholics, Christians, would follow their faith and follow their nature, their true nature, instead of being distracted by sin, you could create, or human beings could create God's kingdom on earth. It's a terrible heresy. St. Augustine was his nemesis and got him excommunicated. St. Augustine obviously, believed in original sin, that human nature is sinful. And that's why we need morality and laws. Every time the left, they occupy a city block, I mean, the mayhem follows because people are prone to evil. And that's the whole difference between the left and conservatives or the rest of us patriots. And the American founders greatly distrusted. They didn't like monarchs because they were fallible human beings, but they distrusted democracy as well. Because they put sovereignty in the hands of the people, but then they put all these checks and balances to thwart it. That's why we have an electoral college. That's why we have a Senate. In Wyoming, there's 500,000 people. They get 2 senators. California has 35 million people. They get 2 senators. That's to stop these destructive passions that sweep people up. And to avoid a tyranny of the majority. And of course, the Democrats are at war with the Constitution because they're all leftists now.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Oh, no, this is great. It's 9:27 in the morning. We have David for just a couple of more minutes. David
Not even
Horowitz.
Sunday morning, and here I am. And
That's right.
Hey,
WNN 1470, Tom Trento with Susie Gold here, back from a day of fasting and
And
getting,
introspection,
was your name written in the book of life?
God willing.
God
all of us
willing,
are written in the
absolutely.
book
It
of life.
was, your
Yes.
name was, your name was. And look, we're diving into some of the philosophical. We do edutainment, we play around here, but we also dive in a little deeply in the thinking of the leftist mind and the foundational principles why the left opposes free thought on the right, and how they have lost the sense of history because, as David said, of the indoctrination from early on through the academy. Very, very difficult to have a civilized nation that lives by Judeo-Christian principles if the Judeo-Christian principles have been a priori excluded from consideration in the utopia to come. How do we solve that problem, David?
Society now. I wrote a whole book on it. It's called Dark Agenda, the War to Destroy.
Oh, wait a
No,
minute.
we haven't.
You mean this book right here? Okay. I read it. That's where I got all that stuff from.
And we have him on our website, don't we?
That's right. And if you make a donation to the United West, you get 2 books, and the world's a better place. So, all right, David, we got about 2 minutes left with you. As you know, our mission here is to win the state of Florida. Bloomberg, since we last spoke, Michael Bloomberg from New York, the mayor, has committed $100 million to defeat President Trump in the state of Florida alone. Then he threw in $16 million to pay for the fines of felons so that several 100,000 of them can vote against Don. The assumption is, by his own words, they're going to vote for Biden.
That's because they're both racists, Bloomberg and Biden, aren't they? All black people think alike, especially, and all black people are criminals and think alike and vote Democrat. That's their presumption to start.
And it's there. I mean, they don't hide it. It's right. It's shoved in your face. I'm paying for the black guy and the Hispanic guy, you know?
They're the party of what, when I was a Marxist, we used to call the ruling class. They're the party of the rich.
Yeah. All right, what is your admonition to these evangelicals? 5 weeks from today, 5 weeks from today, it's over. What do you want to tell these evangelicals?
We are in danger of losing everything. That's what this election is about. So vote for Trump.
Can't get any more direct than that.
Straight to the point.
All right, David, we're going to have you back next week to talk about the debate, give your analysis of the debate. We already know, right? You know, the headline has already been printed at CNN. Biden wins. Trump solely relies on facts. You know, that's going to be the headline, and we know that. So, but we'll see what happens. David, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you
Thank
take it easy.
you.
David Horowitz, our dear friend. You know, it's always good to have someone that's been on both sides.
Yes.
And he wasn't on both sides like some nitwit is a Marxist today. Remember those communists we ran into a couple of years ago, right after the 2016 election?
Yep.
20-something-year-old nitwits were communists. You know, they didn't even. Mark asked him, well, what is the number one country that you think makes the most sense as a communist country?
Russia.
Yeah, well, they're going, yeah, Russia. Well, it's not a communist nation now. Well, no, I mean the Soviet Union.
Like under Stalin.
Yeah, like.
And he goes, yes, like under Stalin.
Oh, you mean 40 million people killed under
okay,
Stalin?
good.
That?
That one.
I was sad. He's been an intellectual leader on the Marxist
Yes,
side.
he has.
And he has, you talk about the bona fides. He's got street cred coming over to the other side and critiquing them.
Well,
So
he had some friends that their heads were bashed in by Marxists,
Yeah.
and that was one of the many reasons why he decided to dig a little deeper. And that's what everybody needs to do, is dig a little deeper. If you think the Democrats are doing something good, you need to dig a little deeper, because we are talking, like David said, they're not Democrats, they're communists. And so David dug deeper, and that's what made him to see the light and realize what we're up against in this particular election is right against wrong, good against evil. So, you know, and he has these compelling books that everyone needs to get. Go on the unitedwest.org site and make a donation, and you get these books. And we're all about educating. Let's get smarter. So that
Absolutely. Great books. And these books are, this was written to prepare for the election blitz, but the information is so critical that it's going to apply after the election. And Dark Agenda was written to show the attack against evangelical Christians, basically. If Biden wins, which I'm going to tell you isn't going to happen, because I saw a sign today. Cue Mark. I saw a sign today, and I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Sign?
I saw a sign on the way to work. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. Hang in there. It's 9:33 in the morning, and I'm going to tell you in the next few minutes. But if Biden wins, but he's not, but if he wins, these books are going to be even that much more relevant, because there's going to be increased attacks. Even if he loses, they're going to reload. They're going to try to impeach him on day 1 or day 2. And they're going to go after a Christian church and conservative Jews. I mean,
I think
we know
also
their game plan.
mainstream media may look at whatever the debates are, whatever comes out from that, however that conversation takes place and those answers are revealed. The mainstream media they're all about ensuring that Biden gets reelected. So I think no matter what he says, they're going to turn it around to be this amazing, wonderful response. And Trump is, they're going to bash him. So that's my concern. Is
No question.
Number
What was your
one
sign?
is we are not getting news today. We are not getting analysis that's fair. So that's another thing that our listeners need to be aware of. Whatever you hear on mainstream media, just take it for a grain of salt. It's not the truth. You
No,
gotta
it
dig
is,
for
it
the
is not.
truth.
Now, we have fun here on our show, and we're going to have a little fun now.
Let's have fun.
After I show you why Trump is going to win,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, Mark, I'm going to ask Mary, and I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Let's weigh in on what we think is going to happen tonight.
Okay.
And in particular, if you get a phone call, hey, Susie Gold, you do a good job on that show. Who's this? This is the president. Yeah, it really is the president. Give me some advice. What should I do? So I want you 3 guys to tell me, after I show you why Trump's going to win the election, what advice you would give the president tonight. You heard mine. He's going to have fidelity to core principles. You can't use that. You're going to come up with something else. I was driving to work this morning, and on one of the routes that I take, I pass a little lake. I saw something, and I'm not big on, like mystical seeing things. I'm an analytical guy, an apologist. The facts got to matter. The science has to matter. But I saw something on the day of the debate, 5 weeks out, that is a sign from God. I interpret it as a sign from God that Trump's going to win, because God has provided the same exact sign as a hope of the future. And I see Donald Trump's victory as a hope for the future, because he's protecting that which we believe, which is very, very important. Here is, we're going to show it to you, and those of you who are on the radio, you can't see it, but I'll explain it to you. I stopped and I took a picture of why I believe Donald Trump is going to win. Now look at that.
Wow.
Can you see that? It's a little tough seeing there, but can you see it? Susie Gold, what is it? Can you see what it is?
The sun is rising on the
No.
the lake.
No.
Rainbow.
It's a rainbow.
Oh.
The end of the rainbow is on the water right there. In real life, that was a bright rainbow. Picture's not doing justice to it, but a bright rainbow 100 yards away from me, right in the water.
You know what the biblical
I
explanation
know. Well, go
of a
ahead.
rainbow
Go ahead.
is? I'm
Yeah.
asking the theologian here.
The world is not going to be flooded again.
Right. We will not have a flood again. Have no fear. God is here with us.
And there's not going to. Now we can play around with the exegesis is when you read out of the Bible what it's saying. Eisegesis is when you read into it. We can read into it a little bit. The flood of the socialist left is not going to happen.
The destruction of the
God
world.
showed us a rainbow and had a hope for the future. And it was awe-inspiring. Have you ever been at a place where the rainbow is stopping right in front of you? Wow. It's stopping right there. I mean, that's the end of the rainbow. That's why it threw this cast, this light along the whole lake, And then the colors went right into the water 100 yards away. It was bizarre. Very, very cool.
Isn't there a pot
Okay.
of gold at the end of the rainbow?
I
Yeah,
went
I said the
looking
same
and there was
thing,
no
Mary.
gold.
I said
Maybe
the
that's
same
just
thing,
in
Mary.
Ireland.
Speaking of gold, Susie Gold is here, and we have been fighting and struggling for 2 weeks now. We have a very large mail list and about 30,000 emails. Anyone who had an AOL, a Yahoo, and others were being blocked by outside big tech companies, and we couldn't communicate, which means we couldn't generate donations, and we're in trouble. Honestly, we're in trouble right now. We need to raise money. We're trying to solve the problem. Can you make one of your nice appeals
Sure.
to funds to the folks? Then we'll get on to your viewpoints.
I think that the reason that we haven't gotten the number of calls for donations from my other appeals is because I said that there was a red donate button. It's actually blue.
Oh, there we go.
So what you need to do is you need to go on theunitedwest.org, click that blue button that says donate, give whatever your heart says that you should give. There are those people that come on radio. There are those people that may go door to door knocking to make sure that people vote for Trump. There are those that donate their time, donate resources, whatever. But one way that you could help to tip the tides of this particular election is by making a donation to theunitedwest.org, because we are reaching those Christians that are the ones that they are Republican. They're just not voting. And we are reaching them through this radio station. So we get calls every day. We get letters every day that there are those that have heard the messages and that are voting according to their conscience, according to the education that they've learned from this show. So we are making a difference. So please click on that button so that we can continue doing the work that we're doing. We've got to pay electric bills. We've got to pay rent. We need equipment, and we need resources to do that. So please search your soul, search your heart, whether it's $35, $100, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, that we really need to get through to the election. I say $200,000. That has been our target, so that we can also put up some billboards. We have 34 days to election day. We have a lot of work to be done because, again, this is a fight between two candidates that one is about freedom and capitalism, and the other is about socialism. We're talking about martial law. We're talking about really changing our Constitution and our country as we know it. And a lot of people are not aware. It's our job to make sure that we wake them up. So please go on theunitedwest.org, click on the blue donate button, and search your heart to the quantity that you can be most comfortable in donating.
Amen. Amen. It's 9:40 in the morning. Tom Trento, your host, with Susie Gold, my partner up here. She's back from Yom Kippur, and we spoke about that yesterday. We had David Horowitz on from the Horowitz Freedom Center. You can go to our website, theunitedwest.org, and see the replay of the show every day. We're on 9 to 10 a.m. live East Coast time, and you can go to our YouTube site, youtube.com/theunitedwest. If you come to our website and you get a little warning, ignore it. There's nothing wrong with the website. If you're trying to get in touch with me, go email TUW, the initials, TUW, at theunitedwest.org. If you want to make a larger donation, you're a little concerned over the internet, give me a call. There's stock transfers. We have an account with Fidelity. A lot of people do that at the end of the year. There's tremendous tax advantages. We should talk to the president about tax advantages. He's going to hear a lot of that tonight. What a joke. Oh my God. The guy owns $100 million, this. He's going to be, the Russians are going to get him this. These people, their heads are exploding. I spoke in the opening about the fidelity of this president to life, but also he has fidelity to the system that's been the most successful economic system that can be utilized by a large group of people, capitalism. He has fidelity to that. And then on the security side, he has fidelity to his partners, particularly Israel. So he's got fidelity to life, fidelity to law and order, fidelity to capitalism, and fidelity to the nation of Israel. If you're an evangelical Christian, I don't care if you don't like the way he tweets. You're living on principle, and those are the principles you should be supporting. So let's start with you, Mary. What advice would you give to Donald J. Trump for tonight?
Well, one of the things that I think President Trump is going to recognize is that, like most every campaign debate that we have seen over history, is that the question gets asked and the candidate goes on beyond the 2 minutes, whatever they're allowed to give. So I think at some point, President Trump's going to be able to make his point very vividly in terms of facts and everything that he has to say. But when you get to Biden's got all these little tells that at that minute mark where he's supposed to be off, he'll go, oh, wait, I'm out of time, so I'll finish now. So you know he's not going to be able to finish a sentence. You know he's not going to be able to finish a thought in terms of the question asked. And I think Trump can play on that and can take that to the next steps of understanding who he is and whether or not he can finish a sentence to be president. I think he needs to play on that.
Wow. Attack a senile old guy. All right, we got it from Mary.
was
Mark,
it.
your advice to the POTUS.
Is when Joe Biden lies, okay, because he's going to lie about something. Like, for example, I'm from Delaware State, a historically
Yeah.
black college university, right? Now, he knows he's lying because he doesn't need to come back and say, Joe, you're not black, and you didn't go to the college. He doesn't need to go say that. All he needs to go is say on anything he lies about is say, Joe, are you lying about going to Delaware State University, or you just don't remember? Which one is it?
No, the don't remember part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just-
interesting.
And I think every time he's, Joe, you just don't remember that, or are you lying? Any type of thing. I think that'll be a hammer right home to him, because he can't. See, he's not calling him demented. He's just saying, "Do you remember this, Joe?" Like sounding kind of compassionate. Don't you remember, Joe?
Oh, interesting. So Mark is saying hit him on his senility, his dementia, but do it in a loving way, in a sensitive way.
We'll just say, "Are you lying, or you just don't remember?"
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess the way you can say that, are you lying, Joe? Just don't you remember? You can do, or Joe, are you lying, or just you don't remember? You're having a hard time. Yeah. Okay. All right. Susie Nurse.
So, Wallace has chosen 6 topics, right, for the debate?
Mike Wallace, the
Mike
moderator.
Wallace, the
Right.
moderator.
Right.
So, I'm looking at what these topics are. Trump and Biden records. Well, Trump just needs to be honest about his record. Look at what he's done for the economy, for jobs, unemployment. State the figures, have the facts, have the numbers. So, and then the Supreme Court. Well, he's going to defend his choice. And then COVID, his response, he's going to be attacked for that, because that's what's out in the news, is that
If there were one death, he'd be, you let that person die.
Yeah, and I think, numbers, the data is what I think is very important for Trump, because that's not emotion. That's not anything that is personal. And these are the facts. The economy is going to be another topic. The facts are the facts. And race and violence in our cities. Well, look what's happened in Democrat states. That's not in the Republican states. It's in the Democrat states. Facts are facts. The integrity of the election. Look at all of there were Trump, those that voted for Trump, and they found all of these ballots that were stuffed in a garbage pail. These are facts. You can't deny facts. So I say be factual and have your numbers ready, and be concise with your presentation of those facts.
All right. Stylistically, the president is known. He can be a tough guy. He can be a bully. I mean, I think the bully days, he can be a bully, and he has that persona. Now, what we're doing at 9:47 here, Tom Trento, your host, WNN 1470. If you're just getting in your automobile, you missed a great show. We had David Horowitz a bit earlier. Now our team here, Mark, Mary, Susie, myself, and tomorrow. Tell about tomorrow, what we're going to do.
Oh, tomorrow's going to be fun. You've got to join in. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining, and it'll also be educational. But what we're going to do is we're going to analyze the debates. So we will have Dr. Jane Ruby, who is a talk show host. She's also on TV, and she had a show up in Virginia. She left that state because it's a Democrat state. She actually, and I'll say this because she did say it on air, but that she did, in fact, have COVID and was denied treatment of hydroxychloroquine because in that state, they were not allowed, doctors and pharmacists were not allowed to prescribe nor dispense hydroxychloroquine. She moved out of Virginia for those reasons and is now a Floridian. But she's a radio and talk show host and also on TV.
She'll be right here. We're going to have a little
She's going to be
panel
with us,
right
and
over
we're
here.
going to have
Yep.
a conversation. We're looking forward to having some Jexit representatives join us also for that conversation so that we can analyze the questions, the debates, and you'll hear a perspective that is not like what you're going to hear on CNN. It's not what you're going to hear on NBC, but you will hear factual and intelligent conversation about about what was said during the debates. And then we also have Frank Coconati, who is
he coming on tomorrow?
He's coming on tomorrow.
great.
And we have Laura Loomer in the morning.
Oh.
So Laura Loomer, for those of you who are not aware who she is, I don't know how you couldn't, but she is running against Lois Frankel in District 21. And Frank Coconati is, he has chaired a movement to stop taking down the Columbus statues, which has been, he's been attacked by big tech. He's been attacked because they want to take down statues and change history and remove history. So that'll be an interesting conversation as well. So we have a great show tomorrow. It's going to be really entertaining and educational.
Yeah, Frank Coconati. You're going to like Frank Coconati. He's a paisan. Frank Coconati's a good guy. Yeah, we'll play that in a second, Mark. I forgot we have a little commercial. Alan Bergstein is initiating a movement in South Florida to stop the Biden administration if he wins, and he's alerting people why they shouldn't be voting for him, where they want to force the social change in suburbia by taking the 13% figure of minorities and forcing people to live in areas where they may not want to live. There's no reason why they can't live there now. So we have a little commercial we're gonna play in a second. But let me analyze a bit on the debate side. Having, as many of you know, done a lot of them. I wish I could do more. We keep trying to get people on the show where we can have a little debate, but the left doesn't really like to engage in an exchange of ideas. I would tell the president, and I don't like when he does this. I would tell him to switch the word pander to provide. He panders to a lot of special interest groups. I did this for you. I gave you this much money. I went over here. He uses the I word too much also. It should be our team, and he catches himself when he does that. But I gave you guys $500 million. I did this. I did that. Hey, Hispanics, I did this over here. There's a sense of pandering, and it loses President Kennedy. Don't ask me. You know that thing, right? Don't ask what you can do for your country. Ask what your country can do for you. That's what they're saying. It's the exact opposite of what Kennedy said. He needs to say, look, I'm not pandering to any groups. I want to provide opportunities. You're going to have to do the work. Government will assist you in certain areas. We're not doing the work for you. And you don't want us to do the work for you. We'll provide an opportunity, an equal opportunity, not an equal outcome. That's socialism. We're going to guarantee the equal outcome. He's got to stay away. He's got to actually draw the distinction between forcing an equal outcome, which destabilizes human nature. It improperly interprets human nature and political philosophy, and you create the chaos we have. He should be saying, I'll provide opportunities to work, to live, to improve your lives, not just black people, white people. I've been in the middle class all my life. I go by big homes on the ocean. I'd love to be in those homes. I'm not going to force that guy to give me his stuff. I've got to rise myself up to the occasion to live in a house like that if I wanted to do that. So he's got to get away from pandering. And stylistically, he needs to focus on primarily evangelicals. Everything he says should have a hook on the end. I'm speaking to I'm speaking to everybody, but in particular, you 25 million that are not voting out there. Look, you don't have to like me. Look, but your obligation, Franklin Graham says that, go through a list of people. Your obligation is to vote your morality, vote your biblical principles. I'm guarding those biblical principles, not just for me, but for all Republicans that are doing it. He needs to specify evangelicals need to vote. That will mobilize them. And he's got enough evangelicals on his team to understand that message. That's the message I would give to him. Let's play this piece, Mark, and we'll have Susie Gold comment on it, because you're a suburban, right? You're a suburban.
Yeah, I am.
You're a white racist suburban. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm not a racist.
Yeah, I know.
Now, an important message. We all moved down from up north to escape the crime, congestion, and tumult of the big cities. We reside in a suburban Florida paradise. Over 55 communities, enjoying relationships with our friends and neighbors. We mingle with fellow seniors and share common stories of our childhoods and backgrounds. We're happy, but a Biden win will change all that. Back in 2015, Biden and Obama concocted and set into play the 13% racial integration solution that would destroy our suburbs from the top down. Known as affirmatively furthering fair housing, these rules would have legislated our over 55 as discriminatory, rezoned our areas to permit high-rise, high-occupancy, low-income residences, and turned our Eden-like neighborhoods into the likes of Portland, Seattle, Chicago, and New York City. President Trump and his HUD chair, Ben Carson, recently killed this legislation, but a Biden win will guarantee its resurrection to destroy our communities, to safeguard your lifetime investments, and to ensure your continued senior lifestyle. Vote to keep President Trump in the White House for another 4 years.
Yeah, isn't that something? How the fabric of our country would change. The capitalistic perspective of you work, you then purchase what you need for your families. If you want more, you could work up in a company. You could own your own company. That is the American dream. That is the American way. That's the principle of capitalism. So you work harder or you work smarter, and you then can get more, acquire more, and build yourself up. Are we given anything for free? That's like the Democrat perspective is, you could live in the same neighborhood as that friend of yours who is a CEO of a company. In fact, you could live next door because we'll give it to you. And that's not the American way. That's not the American dream. That's just getting stuff for free.
And that whole 55 and over thing, we've all seen in the past 30 years the developments grow in South Florida. Private company comes in, they buy up a bunch of land, they make a lot of people rich when the people sell their land. Then they build a development, and they put in pools and clubs and everything else, and they have rules. You got to be 55 years old to live here.
They don't want
It's
the children there. They don't want
they
pets.
don't want it.
They don't want it. That's what their choice is.
This has nothing to do with a race or anything, but if you're not 55, you can't come here. That would change. So now you got all these people retiring, and they want to quiet. They want to live. You got babies running around. You got all these kids. You got stuff
and
in
they're pooping in the pool.
And you're pooping in the pool, the whole thing.
You're going to see some walls being built if that happens.
Yeah, you're not kidding. The big walls being built. So, and Alan Bergstein's infamous. We only got a minute left here. Infamous at debating, and he's a Jewish conservative activist. He goes to a lot of the Jewish communities. He says, "Hey, why don't you open up your gates and let people use your swimming pool and put your walls down? I came in here. I had to show my ID. You people don't want to show your ID for voters. What's going on, The hypocrisy of the left. Hey, tomorrow, everybody, we're going to have our panel here to do a post-debate analysis. And it's going to be exciting. Tune in tonight. Everybody watch the debate. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Have
Tom
a great
Trento,
day, everybody.
Susie Gold, Mark, and Mary. We're out of here. See you tomorrow.